Welcome, my friends of the interwebs. So I was asked this question today. It took me back a little bit. It's probably one of the most interesting questions that I've ever been asked. And that is, who do I think the GOAT is? And the options were the always amazing, legendary Krysta Blade, or the legendary Julia Steele, or the legendary Cambria Leigh. And I don't use the word legendary lightly. If you don't know who they are, well, you've been living under a rock. Google them. So these three ladies were the largest stars that I've ever had in my universe. I mean, they were like legit famous. So, which one do I consider to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time? And I answered that question with saying basically, it's a three-way tie. If there was ever a three-way tie, this is a three-way tie. Some people called bullshit on that, and I get it. No, I totally get it. Krysta Blade had mega fans, as did Julia Steele and Cambria Leigh, and everybody wants to know. Everybody wants their gun girl to be the GOAT. Here's the reason why I said I would make a video about that, and that's what I'm doing right now. Here's the reason why I say it's a tie. And I'm going to start with Krysta, because she was the first, you screwed over a little bit, the first Blade Girl. The original Blade Girl, actually, no, I'm sorry. Krysta Blade was the original Blade Girl, but she was only here for a millisecond. Krysta Blade became the famous Blade Girl. She's the one that put the name Blade on the map. So the reason I think that she's, at least tied, in my opinion, as a GOAT, is Krysta was the original. She was the one that walked through the door. She opened up the door for Julia and Cambria. That's what she did. Look, there's been a lot of water under the bridge with me and Krysta. I've known her entire life. Sadly, we're estranged now, and that's just the sad truth of it all. I haven't talked to Krysta in a very, very long time. But having said that, she's married, and she's very, very happy from what I understand. Neither one of us knew what the hell we were doing. Krysta wasn't a real model. She'd never modeled in her life other than, taking selfies and whatnot. This is all new to both of us. I mean, I'd made tons of YouTube videos by that point, but never working with somebody else. It was always solo stuff with me. So we kind of, I don't know, we kind of found our way, and she did some really impressive work. If you just go by the numbers, it's hands down Krysta, because I've literally lost count of how many million-plus views videos that she had to her name. Literally. There was a time I remember, this is back in the day, of course, but there was a time when I remember looking at the big gun channels on YouTube. You had Hickok 45, you had FPS Russia, you had James Jaeger, and at one time, now FPS Russia and Hickok were in a different universe, but at one time, she had more million-plus views than James Jaeger did. I mean, by a long way. Now, as far as Hickok and FPS Russia, I can tell you this: they both knew who she was. Okay, there were tons of gun girls on the internet, but they all knew Krysta. And in fact, FPS Russia, I'll go ahead and speak out of turn, he actually tried to hook up with her because she was a big deal. I mean, she was. So anyway, Krysta is definitely the GOAT, tied with. So let's go through a couple of her. By the way, I want to tell you, these photos of Krysta were all taken with a cell phone. I didn't have a camera. I didn't even consider myself a photographer per se. Back then, I was just using a crappy cell phone. I don't know how many megapixels, but it wasn't many. But, we got some cool... We used to use pictures like this as a promotional tool. She had huge fans on Facebook, and we would use this to kind of get the word out. And literally was about making money for the both of us. So, yeah, Krysta. That's her gun, by the way. That's her little pink mosquito, her Sig Sauer mosquito. Yeah, she was cool. Now, it's Cambria, but I'm going to go back to Julia, because Julia is the GOAT for lots of reasons, too. Okay, so after Krysta and I parted ways, and we'll get into all of that, but after Krysta and I parted ways, I was left with the ownership of a very large YouTube channel with millions of views and tons of subscribers, tens of thousands of subscribers back when that was a lot. You know, you got to remember, we were kind of pioneering this whole thing. And I didn't know what to do. I had no talent. I'd never worked with real models before. You know, the becoming Krysta Blade thing kind of fell into place. And that's a whole long story in its own. But she was basically one of my childhood best friend's daughters. And so I grew up with this guy named Boyd who happened to be in the Toledo area or Northwest Ohio area. He happened to be a fairly important photographer. Did a lot of fetish work and stuff like that. But I literally grew up with him. He lived across the street from me, and when we were kids. And then so I called him, and he knew Krysta because he grew up in the same neighborhood as Krysta's dad. And I told him what the deal was, that I was kind of in a spot and didn't have a star for the channel. And he says to me, he goes, the answer to your prayers is a girl named Julia Francesca. She's ultra cool. I think she will work well with you. So I told him, I said, give her my number and have her call me. And she did. And I sent her the link to at that time it was called the Krysta Blade channel. And I asked her, I said, would any of this interest you? Would you be interested in making videos and blah, 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 blah. And I'd like to book your time. Now, I'd never booked a model before. And Julia was a pretty well-known, well-established fetish model. I mean, she did all kinds of like ball gags and tied up and whips and chains, all of that stuff. But when I met her, she had told me that she was kind of looking to get away from doing all that stuff for lots of reasons. And she was really intrigued by the possibility of making money on YouTube, doing YouTube videos. So we went to the farm. She charged me $100. This is legendary. She charged me $100 for her time, cash. And we worked together for about 2 hours. And did mostly non-nude, and we did do one nude video, or maybe two. But you know, it's kind of fun. And that's a whole funny story to tell, but it took too long to tell. But so here I am working with Julia. We got 5 videos that I thought was decent. 4 pretty decent YouTube quality videos, and then 1 nude video. So for $100, I'm like, okay, let's see how this works. So I go home and I upload the video. The first video I uploaded was her shooting the AR-15 in a bikini, a teal bikini. I'll never forget this. And within a fairly short period of time, it went viral and got well over 1 million views before YouTube yanked it. Interestingly enough, I made the same video, and this would play kind of a key role in further things that I would do. I did the same video with her nude. So shooting the AR-15 with no clothes on, which I'd never done before. Never shot, well, when I was in high school, but never shot video of a model shooting a gun naked. Had never done that before. So Julia was so cool, and of that $100 I spent, I think I made a lot of money. I don't even want to say, I don't want to say publicly, but I got a very good return on investment. There is no doubt about that. And you know, in fact, at one time back then on YouTube, you could make a ton of money. And I thought, God, I got this formula. I've got this ATM in my house now. And yeah, and then at some point she wanted me to produce her YouTube channel, the Julia Steele channel. Fun thing though, she was Julia Francesca, but from the very get-go, I'm like, I'm not feeling that Francesca name. And I'd done the Blade thing at that point, and I'm like, you know, what do you think about Julia Steele? And that's how it happened. I've actually named most of the models that I've worked with, and definitely if they have the last name of Blade or Steele, I've given them that. So anyway, Julia starts taking off, and that worked out great because I knew I could make it. Because, you know, there was a time when I wasn't really sure whether or not I could continue. I mean, even though I had this big YouTube channel and I kind of knew what I was doing, I didn't have a star, didn't know how to get a star. Now I had a star. And that, to me, makes her tied for being GOAT. Because she took a lot of stress off of me. And she and I did really well together and built a pretty big fan base. There was a glitch somewhere in there. Not going to talk about it, but I ran into another model that caused a lot of grief in all of our lives. But we won't discuss that person. So let me get past Krysta and get to, yes, Cambria Leigh. Now, here's the thing that makes her to go. Here's the thing that at least makes her tied for the GOAT. Cambria shows up. I'd already been working with Julia, and kind of the word was getting around in the local modeling scene that, you know, this photographer, this Richard Hunter guy, YouTube guy, was working with Julia. Everybody knew who Julia was, and it was kind of exciting. And she had a video that had, at that time, a few 100,000 views, heading screeching. It was going to the sky like a rocket. And so everybody kind of wanted to work with me. And I ran into this girl. She was doing a photo shoot at a place called the Collingwood Art Center, and she was there being shot by Boyd, who turned me on to Julia. And so I went there to film. Actually, was doing a film of Boyd doing a photo shoot, and I met her, Cambria. And right away, I knew that there was something special about her. She was special. There was no doubt about it. And so anyway, I asked her, I said, you know, halfway in between Boyd's shoot with her, which I'm sure annoyed the shit out of him. It would have annoyed me. But I said, would you be interested in doing YouTube? And she's like, absolutely. And funny enough, she lived like 3 blocks from me. I mean, literally walking distance to my house. So we started working together, and I take her out to the farm, and something happened that was just magic. And it made her a tie for the goat. And here's what it was. I set up a target. It was a paper target, and I put her about 7 yards away. She'd never shot a gun in her life. And she literally put every bullet, it was a, what was it, the Sig Sauer P229, I think. And I don't remember anymore, but I'm pretty sure it was the Sig Sauer. She put every single bullet in the X. And the very first time she ever shot at 7 yards. It was impressive to see. My jaw was dropped, and I'm like, I'd always dream, because, you know, Krysta, I loved Krysta to death. She had a personality like no other, but she couldn't hit the side of a barn with a 12-gauge sawed-off shotgun. She just couldn't. I don't know why that was. She just couldn't. Now, Julia could shoot, but not like Cambria. I mean, Cambria was a natural-born pistoliera. I mean, she was a gunslinger from old school. She could shoot to the point where her fans, that if you look at the gun she has in her hands, that's a Glock 17 that her fans bought her because she was going to shoot competition. To be honest with you, I could have seen her on Team Glock. That's how impressive she was. The problem, though, turned out that she ended up getting lupus, or she became sick with lupus. And in fact, these photos here, the reason that I chose these photos, was that she and I were supposed to go out, and we were supposed to do some training, some practice for an upcoming pistol match. And in this particular day here, she called me, and because I used to pick her up to go to the farm, and she said, you know, Colonel, could we please maybe not shoot today? Maybe you could come and shoot me with your camera, do a photo shoot at my house. And I'm like, sure. And so what I didn't know, though, is she really wasn't feeling well, and bad things were on the horizon for Cambria, no doubt. So I go there, I do this amazing photo shoot with her. It was the first time of all the time we'd worked together where she went topless for me. Yeah, I mean, just amazing. So it was the day after or the day after that, I don't remember which, but she called me. We were supposed to go up to the farm and practice, and she's like, I'm on my way to the hospital. There's something really horribly wrong with me. And then she was in the hospital for the longest time. I don't remember how long, but her kidneys were failing. Anyway, she ended up being diagnosed with lupus, and things were not good. And, you know, but of all the 3 girls that I just mentioned, of all the 3 goats, she's the only one that I still talk to on a really regular basis, at least every week. And she's the only one that I see on a fairly regular basis. Holidays have been kind of crazy, this, that, and the other. But she comes over to my house and art. Some of you know that. She's an amazing artist. She's an amazing person. But the whole being able to shoot was amazing to me, because other than her, now her cousin Cece Gray is an amazing shooter too, just natural. And then I think Kaylee Fisher probably, with a little bit of effort, could have brought her skill level up to the point where she probably could have shot competition too. But, you know, I'd never had that before. And a little factoid, up until Cambria got sick, now of course taking Krysta out of the picture, Cambria had more views and more fans than any other any of the other girls that I actually produced their channels for. She was in fuego. People loved her, and I think that had she been able to actually start shooting, I think, like, competition, I think that, yeah, who knows where she would be today? Probably on some pro team somewhere, hawking, you know, swag for, you know, Smith & Wesson or Glock or somebody. Anyway, we're almost to 15 minutes. No sense of keeping this going, but let me know in the comment section who you think the GOAT is. I think it's a tie. I really do, for reasons that I just gave. Anyway, everybody take care. See ya!